Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth, the wisdom resound in the Retic Rundown. We're breaking new ground. From the jungle's deep to the captive scene, Retics rule the world if you know what I mean. With patterns so bold and sizes extreme, in the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound in the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Unlocking secrets of the serpentine kings, sharing knowledge, stories, everything it brings. From breeders to keepers, we pull the strings in the Retic Rundown, hear the echoing rings. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound in the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome Retic lovers. Welcome Retic lovers.
What's up, everybody? And welcome back to the Retic Rundown, your Retic resource, no noise, just knowledge. I'm your host, G.I. Joe, and this is episode 16, and we are talking about Retic localities and building bloodlines the right way. So today we've got exciting discussion lined up for you, and we're diving into localities with 3 expert guests, and we're going to give you a fast-paced insight you're looking for, get you some knowledge, and talk about, I think, one of those things that everybody is like really jumping on right now. If you keep up in the Facebooks and stuff like that, the Facebook groups, localities are a big topic right now. So a quick reminder, support USARK and USARK Florida, right? The rocket ship reminds you to support USARK. They're doing amazing work, help protect our rights. If you guys missed the last 2 episodes, we're talking about rights big time with Jeremy Turgeon, and DNA DNA critters. Why am I'm like pulling a blank on him? Shit, Aaron, and then Steve. So we had a great discussion about all that. So the rocket ship reminds you, support USARK, USARK Florida. And last but not least, big thank you to Mike behind the scenes, Mike Johnson with the Herp Collectors Network, making it happen. So, all right, first and foremost, we are going to introduce our guests. And so first one is Mason Ray of MayRay Exotics. Welcome to the show.
How you guys doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good, good. Just hanging out.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show. So here's your shameless plug, man. Tell us who you are, what you do, where we can find you.
So my name's Mason. I haven't been keeping retics for super long, but I've been into them for a long time. I've had them for 3.5 years now. Kind of dove straight in as far as I liked some morph stuff, but then I started finding my way with the localities. I'm a motorcycle mechanic for a living. I've always done cars or bikes. And as far as finding my content, I don't post much on Facebook, but it's mostly just Instagram, MayRay Exotics.
Nice. All right, cool. All right. So appreciate you again, man, coming on. So I like the different levels we've got going with the expertise. And so I think it's gonna be a good show. So next up, everybody knows this guy. He is very prominent throughout the Facebook's groups and everything, giving great advice and helping people out. So Lucas Bagnera, everybody of Lab Exotics.
What's going on, man?
What's happening?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
Yeah, no, I love it. All right, so definitely someone, you came in to this around about the same time I did. We've been coming in about the same amount of time. So, and you've definitely collected up a nice variety and worked with a few different localities. Some stuff I work with, some stuff I don't work with. So I was glad to have you on and give your advice and expertise on it. So, But hey, man, shameless plug, go for it. Not that we all don't know who you are, but if we don't, let us know.
All right, Lucas. I own Lab Exotics, and I'm the co-host of the Retic Lounge and the Chondro Lounge with the Reptile Lounge Network. You can catch me on Instagram, Facebook at Lab Exotics. On YouTube, go to the Reptile Lounge Network, and you'll find the Chondro and Retic Lounge on there. You can subscribe there, but yeah, that's really all I got.
Nice. All right, guys. And then I know I promised you guys Travis, and I think that like he got caught up at work. He shot us a message at like 5:30, 5:45, said something's crazy. So he might jump in. So for now, this is what we're going to start with. And I say we keep it rolling. And hopefully we'll get Travis in here towards the end or at some point. So before we get started, though, I want to go through. We got a lot of people in here. So I'm going to say hi to some people. James Perry. We got Jordan. What's up, buddy? It's always good to see you. James Garrett's in the house. Jay Lunsford. What's happening, man? Who else we got? Amy Henderson, it's good to see you. Nobody. That's a good name. I like that. I'll go with that one. Daniel Berry, Celeste, what's happening? Celeste, good to see you guys. Bows of Reptiles. Dickie Foster's in here. Man, we got a ton. All right, so one more thing before we get started. I got to show this off. Now that I've addressed everybody, we gave it some time. So I just want to say a big shout out because there's some of the guys in the concert, or I mean not in the concert, in the comments that were part of this, but Eric Blick and Jay Lunsford and Jason, they got this made for me as a going away gift. So and I thought it was cool as shit. So it's got the retic rundown, the morph identification process, of course the G.I. Joe, USR, and then the localities.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
big shout out to you guys. I literally just got this last Thursday when I was finally able to meet Garrett for dinner. And this was one of the coolest things that I've ever received. And so I just want to show that off, guys. Y'all are awesome, and I appreciate the support. And now it will forever be a piece. I'm going to get it hung up on the wall, but it's going to be a part of the episodes from now on. So.
I'm picturing the John Cena song just like in the background.
It'll work out that way. If I'm the one ever missing, it's just like you guys can't see me, you know.
Right.
I'm not missing. You just can't see me. Carry on. You got the questions.
Oh man.
All right, cool. Hey guys. So I will absolutely squirrel if I don't get back on topic. So let's jump into it. And like I said, hopefully we get Travis to jump in. And we'll go from there. But all right, Mason. So you know the deal, right? 3 minutes. So here's the first question. All right, to start, define what we mean when we talk about localities and reticulated pythons. How would you explain the concept of a locality to someone that's new in the hobby?
So the best way I explain localities, and what always has done it for me as well with them is like, say you were to go to Bali Island or Ternate Island, a pure locality animal is what you're most likely to see there. I mean, obviously there's been morphs found in the wild as well, but a pure locality is what you are going to see. It is the rawest, most natural form of a reticulated python. And that's, I mean, what's always done it for me. And when I explain that to people, I tell them, I'm like, you know, I mean, yes, all the morphs, of course, came from the wild as well. Originally, not all of them, but obviously morphs have been found in the wild. But as far as like the stuff I keep, I tell people like, yeah, this is what they look like on Bali Island. This is what they look like on Mindanao. Like that's what you're gonna find out there. And I think a lot of newer keepers are starting to catch on to that. I mean, I get messages all the time, people asking me like, what morph is my Bali? You know what I mean? And it's definitely, it's crazy to see how in the little bit of time I've been into this, how I used to think the same thing. I used to see pure locality animals and think that they were some kind of morph. I didn't realize that's what a locality was. But it is cool to see people like curious, I guess, asking questions and stuff about them.
Okay. So you said you're keeping localities much more than morphs. Like, what kind of localities are you keeping that you'll be able to kind of like speak on for what you see?
Like what do I have?
Yeah, what do you keep personally?
I have Kaiwati, I have Mindanaos, I have Ternates, I have a Bali, I have a Serum. What else do I got over here? I have a SD cross. She's not pure though. She was sold to me as a pure Kalatoa, but I don't think she is. Yeah, I mean, as far as just throughout my localities, it's crazy to see, like, say, a ternate. A ternate's a northern Maluku locality, and then you have the Searom, which is like a southern Maluku locality, and it's pretty crazy to see the difference in size for one, and the
Okay.
difference just the difference in, I guess, their pattern, their color. You know, like my Searom, there's people that think it's a Bali because of the yellow head
Do
on
you
it.
do you see a lot of difference in, say, their personalities as well, or are they
Oh, for
all
sure,
pretty?
for sure, for sure,
I
for
love
sure.
that one.
Even in feeding, honestly, with the Maluku stuff, for sure, I almost feel like they have a different metabolism. Actually, I do feel like they do, honestly. Same with my Mindanaos. I feed them completely different than I feed the rest of my stuff.
I think it's important to definitely, like, if you're noticing that within your own collection, and I think that's a great thing to point out is if you're noticing things like that in your collection, then pay attention to it. It
Yep.
is not a one size fits all thing for every single snake out there. It's not even for even with mine. You know, like I've got a variety of mixed stuff, and it's like some of them they'll tell you when they're ready to eat, like they need to.
Yeah.
All right, look, appreciate it, man. Lucas, you want me to repeat the question, or you got it?
Go for it.
All right, so define what it means when we talk about localities and reticulated pythons, and how would you explain that concept of a locality to someone that is new in the hobby?
Yeah, I mean, Mason touched on a lot of good points. A locality retic is an animal that has been bred or that was imported from an island that we can trace back to an importer that has some type of process of identifying where the snake was collected. I know a lot of people in the hobby like to kind of combat this idea of like, well, if you didn't collect it yourself, then it's you don't know where it's from. But that's not the way herpetoculture works. In herpetoculture, with every other species, including retics, we go based off of importer-exporter relationship, right?
Right.
So a pure locality reticulated python is something that we can trace back and find the importer, and there is a locality attached to that specific animal. Now, there are pure locality morphs, like Mason was talking about, and we see that a lot happening in Indonesia and UK, over in Europe. There are pure Sumatran mochas, right? There are there are so many different morphs that people are working to keep pure with the locality that they're from. So I think that those are pure locality animals as well. So I think that pure localities doesn't have to just be like a wild type, as long as, let's say you get a mocha from Sumatra and you take that mocha to another wild type Sumatra to make hets. Those are all still pure Sumatran localities. So yeah,
That's a great point.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think that, like, the biggest thing I think about localities, and then that's basically how I would explain it to a new keeper.
No, those are great points, guys. And I love that he brought up those mocha Sumatrans, because you thought I would do dirty things for a Klondike bar. All right. Like,
Right.
all right. So back to it though, because you still got a minute. You've definitely been studying localities for a while. Do you have kind of a count of how many localities you think are out there? Like,
I mean, as far as how many are out there, I feel like we don't even know. Like the hobby and even science doesn't know 20% of what's out there, because retics have the widest spread geographic area compared to any other species. They're found in Indonesia in a bunch of different areas, and there's islands in between that we don't have locality retics from there, but I could almost guarantee that retics are found there. So, as far as what's in the US, I think I've done some numbers. I think it's like 12 to 14 that we can verify back to importation. I've worked with Jampea, Kaiwati, Mindanao, Ternate, Halmahera, Kalatoa, I think I said Jampea, Sulawesi.
yeah.
And yeah, I think that's where I'm at, 8 or 9.
Nice. Yeah. So here's the deal, guys. There's going to be some bonus questions because Travis is wrapped up, right? And so this one's not going to be timed, but it's for each of you. We're going to start with Mason, right? Because I really want this to be an educational episode towards people that are getting into it, because Lucas and I will tell you, and Mason, I'm sure you've seen this too, that how many times does somebody come to you and say, I got this pure, and they're so excited, but they didn't do their research prior to, right? And then we got to break their heart, and then we try to help them. So if you said you could, you gave us that explanation of how you'd explain the concept of a locality. What, Mason, would be your piece of advice to someone if they were just doing their research, getting started on how to make sure that they are getting what they are being told that they are getting, like what it is, right? How would you go about helping them not get screwed over?
Well, first off, I'm going to say everything I'm about to say, I basically learned from Lucas. So, the biggest thing is, I mean, well, the first thing is who produced it, and then it comes down to where'd they get those F1s from? Where'd they get those wild caughts from? From there, it's who imported those, like, I mean, some of my stuff I've traced all the way back, like as far as whatever I could trace all the way back, I have traced all the way back. Luckily with a lot of the stuff, I mean, like I said, it all depends. The biggest thing is who produced them. Who are you buying them from? If you're buying them straight from the breeder, and where'd they get their animals from? I mean, I've tried to kind of, and I tell people this, I'm like, the closer you can get to wild caught, the easier it is. So
right.
I try to look for F1s. I go out of my way to get F1s. Like that is like a big thing for me because, and I tell people this, I'm like, if you can try to get F1s or even F2s, because there's that many less steps to try to trace them back. I mean, you're just so close to wild caught, what I mean? You're one pairing away from knowing where the wild caughts came from, or you're talking to two different people at that point. It's usually not too it's not this huge process, you know what I mean? Sometimes getting a hold of the people that were importing this stuff back then is
it's a different thing.
Almost impossible.
I feel you there. No, we've been down that road, haven't we, Lucas?
Yep.
I'm pretty relentless.
All right.
With messaging people over and over,
All right, cool. So persistence, man. Hey guys, like if you really are getting into it, you can't take enough time to ask the right questions. I promise you that. All right, Lucas, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing about making sure that you're buying a locality, like if I'm talking to someone new and they're wanting to get into locality animals, I like the advice that Mason said. Basically, just try to get the animal that you're getting from the breeder itself, right? That's the easiest bet because you have the number one source. The moment that like it's an animal that was produced by someone else and you're buying it from someone secondhand, third hand, it's more steps, right? So 95% of my retics in the lab right now are F1 wild caught, and then I have less than 5 F2s and I produce them myself. And so that for me is the easiest way to just guarantee is making sure you are as close as possible to the wild caught animals so that there's less of a chance of misinformation that goes out there. And yeah, tracing back to importation. I mean, I was just talking to Mason. Mason just got some. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but Mason Mason was just inquiring about some calicos, right, that were wild caught, and he got them, and they are amazing. And they have a lot of Sumatran traits in them and everything. But he was able to, me and him were talking. I said, okay, go to this person. Who's the person before that? And Mason knew the information, and so he went all the way back to Michael Cole, and Michael Cole was able to verify and say, hey, yeah, I imported these calicos, but I also imported calicos from Borneo and from what else? Java, right? So it's a possibility that the animals can be Sumatran, Borneo, Java, but at the end of the day, getting wild caught calico animals is still, that's a flex, right? Like that, those are amazing animals. So, so it really, when it comes down to just like tracing back and making sure you have what you have, it's not important unless you really, really want like the purity of a locality aspect. I'll just make one side comment. A lot of people like to devalue old school super dwarfs, pure super dwarfs. And I don't know why, because 90% of the people out there are producing morphs with these animals and they're shrinking down morphs. At that point, you're already making a cross. So if you have 100% super dwarf, that's, old school, or you have 100% Kalatoa, doesn't matter. What matters is how the animal looks, right? And what you're trying to selectively breed for.
Yeah. So I love it. I love all those answers. The one thing that I want to bring up to you guys, following up with both of what they said, if you are new, you have to know some history. The Lacey Act was 2015, right? Am I right? Or is it 14? 15?
Yeah, 2015 is when it went to, actually, it might have been, I think the last shipment came in April of 2014.
Yeah. Okay, so April of 2014, guys, was the last legal, we'll say that, legal importation of any retic blood into the U.S. And I say this because I had somebody that called the other day or hit me up and they said, I have got an wild caught imported and it's 6 years old. And I said, well, that math don't math, okay? And he didn't know what he didn't know, and he got taken advantage of. So there's some knowledge there, you guys, and that's one of those lines. If anybody says that they have anything that is wild caught, all right, and it is not at least 11 years old or older, don't believe them. All right, just don't save yourself and know some knowledge. Okay.
I was gonna say something stupid, but never mind.
Oh, dude, go for it.
I was gonna say, unless you got that hookup with someone who likes to bring in animals, but
that's why I said leave. All right, because somebody was gonna pop up in the comments and be like, well, I know, and I was like, we all know. Those aren't the animals you want in your collection.
Yeah, that's why the people in the comment they're better than I am. I said the thing everyone was thinking.
I recently had somebody try to sell me a 2-year-old Wilkins line Sula. So, you know,
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I feel you. All right. I've squirreled enough. We gotta get back to it. All right, Mason, you're up, man. All right. So when it comes to breeding retics, how important is it to stay true to a specific locality versus mixing localities? And what do you think the pros and cons are of working with like locality specific lines over a mixed line?
So I think that there's some localities I will say, obviously we have a good amount of in the US. So crosses, there's a lot of localities that you can make some awesome crosses with. There's other stuff that I just think is so rare that we need to get some more pure stuff out there before we worry about doing crosses. Like, I'll use myself, for example, like my bollies. My know-how bollies, I'm really trying to, my goal is to make pures before I worry about anything. I have other projects in mind, but I would really like to just have people be able to have them 10 years from now. And like, as of right now, I don't think that that's very realistic. So, like in that sense, I think it's very important that we stick to like pures with some of these localities, because there's only so many left. Like you were just saying, the wild caught animals are getting old. Like they are. They're not they're not young by any means. So, it's like, we're only going to get so many, like say, F1 clutches, like F1 Sulas, for example. We'll be lucky if we get another F1 Sula clutch. Like that's,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So like, that's where I think it's important. On the flip side of that, there's awesome, like Lucas has done awesome crosses with localities, like you can do some really cool stuff, whether you're trying to breed for like, I guess, more of like a polygenic trait and try to see what another locality can do with that. Or if you're trying to, I guess, just kind of do some experimenting, I feel like there's a lot of localities that will just only enhance each other, putting them together.
Right.
And there's also the flip side, or not the flip side, I guess, the third side of that, where I have people contact me asking me if I plan on breeding my bollies to a dwarf or super dwarf. That way, to shrink them down. And
if you do that, I'll kill you.
I'm not gonna lie, man. You see me selling all my little stuff. I'm over here. I kind of went down. I like the bigger stuff now. I really do. I love my smaller localities, my medium localities, but I want to make some big stuff. Before I ever take a bolly to something small, one's going to a C-ROM for sure. There's no.
That's cool.
I would never focus on shrinking them down before I could do that. But
The only thing I could see going to Bali too would be a tombalong, and I think that cross
Oh,
would
yeah.
be cool.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
anything
It's
else
sick.
is just going to destroy the beauty of a Bali pattern, in my
It's going
opinion.
to be sick. I'm curious
Yeah.
to see what the C-Rem would look like with the Bali, because they both got the yellow head, but the C-Rem's a lot darker, like way darker
Right.
in the Bali, a lot different pattern.
No, I love that. I'm just saying anything like in the smaller locality side of things, like
Oh, man.
that would be the tombalong would be the only thing I could see where it would like work and be like not just such a fight on each other.
Right.
Oh, I'd
Bring
love-
size down a little bit, but not so much that you're trying to make this into like this little pygmy thing, you know, like you still got 12 to 14 foot females, you know, like I could deal with that, you know, and have that look. I think that would be a cool cross. Anything other than that, I'm not even, maybe Phil.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, Lucas, man, you're up. I'm squirreling so bad this episode.
You're good. What? I got the question in my head. I'm ready to go.
Go for it, bro.
Okay, so just to clarify for everyone in the comments, I don't like I think that taking a Bali to a super dwarf at some point is like, yeah, we got to do it, right? But I'm just like right now when no one's producing them and Mason has that ability to, you do not touch another locality with that Bali. You make Balis first. If you take a male super dwarf to a female Bali and that female Bali gets egg bound and dies, I will murder you. So yeah, but I mean, because I like locality crosses. So first and foremost, my priority is pure localities, right? But because I have a lot of pure localities and pairs of them and more than one pair, I also like to play like little mad scientists, right? And like to cross localities that I think are going to benefit each other. So I just made the I call them Salaya Toas, a Salayer Cal Toas. My idea with that was seeing all of the other super dwarf locality crosses. So we've seen the super Malukus, we've seen the Philatoas, you know, we've seen these, and every pairing, the larger locality, right, it ends up winning over the phenotype compared to the super dwarf. So what we're doing is we're shrinking down the size while keeping color, black pattern coming from the locality that, in my opinion, is prettier, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
So I want to every locality, right? Let's take to a Kalatoa, let's shrink down the size and let's see if that locality wins over the Kalatoa. And if it does, we're on the right direction of making a beautiful wild type animal that's also smaller.
Right.
And yeah, that's kind of another reason why I like to do the locality crosses. I'm not a morph person. You know, I did one morph pairing this year. I've done only one other morph pairing ever. And I don't know how many more I have left. But again, right now, where the market of retics is that the vast majority of people are looking at more manageable size animals. Not everyone's wanting a micro retic, right? But everyone is wanting more manageability in size, right? It's less for food, less size on caging. And so, you know, when it's also like consumer driven, right? People are going to be creating morphs. You know, we've seen morphs being taken to super dwarf, and the higher percentage we get, we tend to see the black start to thin out a little bit with the super dwarf stuff. And so that's where you throw in a Salayer in there, thicken that black back up. That's still manageable size retic. And so that's why I did that Salaya pairing as well. So that the people that are working with high super dwarf percentage morphs like Platinum, Sunfire, OGS, all those different things, they can take a Salaya Toa with the bright orange and thick blacks and enhance their project.
And oh man, that's where like I would love to have one of those that like cherry picked with a bunch of black, the most orange, and then just start making super suns. Just something super simple.
Yep.
Just super suns and sunfires with something like that that's got that much black and bleeding down.
Yeah.
But the contrast is already there, right? Like, so you guys get some of my 2 cents since, like I said, I don't have Travis here to give it to you guys. So here's what I think. I you know me, I've got pure localities and I've got locality crosses. And so I've done, in my collection, I've got 2.1 of a clutch that Garrett and Jonathan Hoflick did years back. It was a 50% Madu, 50% Kalatoa female that was a head annery, back to a pure Madu. So I've got 3 75% Madu, 25 Kalatoas. Got a male that I believe is an annery. I've got to prove him out, but then I got one that's definitely a wild type, and then the female's an annery. And here's what I love about doing a clutch like that is that if you play it right, it's really cool to sit there and cherry pick the stuff that you're looking for. Mason brought it up earlier when talking about mixing localities. You've brought it up. And so this is the cool part is it's like, if you mix the right localities and stuff, then you're going to be able to pick out exactly what you're looking for. And this is another reason I think Rodney's really been, talking about this as well. It's picking that right stuff to make it work together, not just throwing 2 snakes together. The other part that I really like about it is when you have a pure like that, I don't feel bad. Like if I want more Madu influence, like I don't feel bad about using that pure female for morph projects versus the 2 pure Madus that I have right now that need to make more pure Madus, right? I will say another cool clutch that I did, and I just posted photos up throughout the groups a couple of days ago, was I put a pure Karampa male to an 87.5% visual annery Kalatoa female. And we got anneries and wild types. And the contrast between the two is insane. When some people are like, annery doesn't exist, I'm like, no, you do it right, it exists, and it's right here side by side. It's night and day. So that, but it's cool too, because I noticed in the females, I don't know if you noticed this, Lucas, but like more of my females tend to, it's always kind of like the females tend to take to more of one side of the locality out of them, and the males tend to give more out of the other locality. And it's usually one way it splits. And I found like in that clutch, the more the males look like Karampa, more the females look like Kalatoa, but it's not 100%, but like it tends to go that way. I don't know. Have you noticed that at all?
No, so I mean, I've only done one locality cross pairing, which was that. I plan to do. I have a lot that's on my list with the localities I have, but it's something for me to keep an eye on. I have. Well, I haven't sent any of them. So I have 5.5 remaining of my Saleatoa. So I'll check and I'll see what.
I would be curious to see what your thoughts are to come back on that and see if the females drift more towards one locality and the males towards another.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, let's see where we at. All right, Mason, like how do localities influence the development and expression of morphs? And can you provide examples of certain morphs being more pronounced or developed in like a specific locality?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know a bunch about morphs, but I can just go off of what I've seen. And you brought up I'll go with what Rodney did with like ternate marbles. I've always thought marbles were cool. I think that the best looking marbles are ternate marbles. It did a lot to them. Well, I should say this, it cleaned them up. And that's like a big thing. I think there's a lot of morphs that localities could clean up or just will clean up. There's some that maybe they won't, or some, there's always going to be people that just like other things more than some. But like I said, I don't really have any plans on, I got the calicos, but I don't really have any plans on like doing a bunch of morph stuff. So I don't do a bunch of morph research. I do see people doing some really cool stuff though. And a big thing I've noticed even the last like 2 years is the amount of people that predominantly like breed morph projects are now buying localities to put into those morph projects. Like if you want to, I guess if you wanted to darken some stuff up, you could use like some Halmahera influence. If like with the Bali's, if you wanted a yellow head, you could, or I guess if you wanted to try to shoot for more yellow heads, you could, I've talked with Rodney about that, and he truly thinks that that's like with the Bali yellow heads, it's something that can be passed on for sure.
I definitely think so.
And then, you also have the fact of there's always going to be people that would love to have, I guess like you could say, they would love to have these large morphs that are predominantly mainland morphs. So they're starting to breed, dwarfs and super dwarfs into them to try to shrink them down.
Oh yeah, the super dwarf and dwarf side of it. I mean, it's got a long way to go. There's a lot of stuff out there to shrink down. So, all right, I won't keep you on the spot for this one because I know you're not doing a ton with morphs. So I'm gonna let Lucas pick you up. All right. So, Lucas, what do you think? How do they influence the development and expression of morphs? Right. And I know you've done some breedings on this, so let's hear it.
So localities can influence morphs in both a positive way and a negative way, right? So, and really, it really comes down to preference about like what type of phenotype do you like about like the morph, right? So, for example, I like a very broken up. I'm going to use marble because Mason did. I like a very broken up, chaotic pattern marble, right? There are some people out there that like striped out marbles, right? So for me, if I want to make a marble, I'm not going to take a broken up pixelated marble to a locality that has elongated white rosettes on the side of the body, because what you're going to see is marble pulls everything to the top, and it elongates any rosettes that are present. So if you take a Halmahera or a Solaire to a marble, you're going to end up with striped out sidebands. So essentially what's important about like taking the right locality to the right morph is understanding how the genetics play. So I don't know if there's actual scientific terms or if they're just hobby terms to describe like diamonds, rosettes, side flames, right? But however your mind conceptualizes it, you have to understand how morphs influence those different traits. Certain morphs add color, certain morphs remove color, certain morphs enhance and break up pattern, certain morphs smooth out pattern. Look at genetic stripe, right? You could take a ternate to a genetic stripe and you're still going to end up with a smooth looking retic, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Like ternates are chaotic. They're busy. They got a lot going on. So taking a genetic stripe to a ternate might enhance and benefit the color, but we're removing the pattern aspect that makes a ternate by creating a striped out animal. Does that make sense?
No, I 100% agree.
So again, this is all about preference and all what you think looks good, right? But at the end of the day, I think that a lot of people in the community can kind of make some inferences on like what they can. There's a common ground to where people can say like a morph should look like this versus a morph like that. So, for example, I took one of Shane Costello's productions, a Sun Tiger OGS purple. I took that to my Solaire. Why did I take it to Solaire? Because Solaires are orange. They're vibrant. They have thick blacks. And so when you make the albino version of it, you're going to get thicker purples. And in the way that the OGS and the Sunflower influence, because again, they produce orange coloration, the way that the Solaire influence that, like all of my Sunfires they look like super Sunfires. Like they have, they are extremely orange, vibrant, floating tails that start like literally it's like almost a third of the animal.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the solid point there is it's like, guys, if you want to breed and you want to breed to enhance something, take the time to learn what those localities do. One of the things that I really like seeing, and I've kind of picked up on a few things, is so much in, Lucas, in the super dwarf side of it, there's almost anything you pick up is a mix of at least 2, if not 3 or more localities. Right. It's already mixed up. And you kind of got used to it in the beginning of like seeing, but what does this morph look like when it's a Jamp Kalatoa cross? But did you ever see it when it's just a Kalatoa? Did you ever see it when it's just Solaire? Like I've got 75% Solaire tigers, right? 1.1, they're 100% het albino. They're the best looking tigers that have ever been produced, in my opinion, right? But nobody can deny how hot they are because, I mean, the blacks literally are like comic book black that shine blue. Their colors are phenomenal, right? Well, then I got an opportunity to pick up a motley het Indo that's 50% Solaire. And so in the future, right, what I can't wait to see are 62.5% Solaire motley tigers, but it's all Solaire. And I think that they are going to blow every other orange glow Motley tiger out of the water when the day comes.
That
because
is going to be a sick pairing.
I'll have to send you pictures of the Motley. She's insane. She is absolutely insane. And the tigers are too. And I swear, but in the future, we're going to see, you know, and the mom was a het albino, the mom was a lavender. So I don't know, like we're going to have to figure out what, you know, the female might be het purple. They may both be het purple, may both be het white. We're going to have to figure that out. But that's cool. And I loved it when I started seeing more breedings coming up where it was just one locality and seeing what it does with that morph when it's just one and they're not fighting each other. And then, so the other side of it is knowing what traits come into it. So like Anery Madus, guys, I've said this before, I feel like are the bluest, right? The absolute bluest Anerys that exist. It's just something about the Madu and the way that clean pattern, it's very open in the back and they have a more natural like side gray. So I'm putting the blue hypo to make double head Anery blue hypos because I want to enhance that blue. To me, it would make no sense to put a blue hypo to a Solaire though, because it's just going to fight the color. You see what I'm saying? Like, so those are the points where you get into it and you're like, this is why if you're going to do morph combos and you want them to stand out, you gotta know what's going to go with each one the right way. You know, the Karampa marbles, the Ternate marbles, both because of what they play on polygenically in that snake itself, they both looked amazing. Especially if you're going for chaos. The other thing is I had people, you guys, if you breed for mediocrity, right? I had somebody that was like, I liked both chaotic and striped out marbles. And I was like, okay, you need to buy 1.1 of each. And he's like, well, I can just breed, you know, why don't I just get one chaotic and one? I'm like, because you're going to make shit looking snakes. You're going to have like one or two that come out like the way over here. And then everything else is going to be mediocrity that nobody's going to really want because it doesn't look, it's half and half. And it just, you know, so guys, if you're going to do it the right way and pick the animals to go with it, especially if you like two different looks in the same morph. That's my advice. It's, you're here. So it's the list. It's coming from me. I don't know. But I could get off on that tangent big time.
Oh no, I'm right there with you. And as a matter of fact, that pairing I did with the Solaire and the Sun Tiger OGS purple, the male proved to be super Sunfire. And so, I mean, yes, I was excited, but my favorite tiger is a Solaire tiger. And I don't have a single normal tiger in the clutch. They're all Sun Tigers. So
okay.
I was bummed because I really wanted just a tiger.
See that. Yeah, you know, again, if you're just gonna hold back, but still, right. I don't know. I'm a huge Sunfire fan.
Oh, me too. I love Super Suns.
And so that's where I put an Anthrax Sunfire Moschino to a pure Coyote, right? Because I think Coyote is the best way to go when it comes, because I think they make the best looking albinos. Their red deep background is already there.
Right.
And then you start putting Sunfire on top of Coyote and it's just flawless in my opinion. But all right. Sorry, Mason. We went off on a tangent. We're sitting there while we're discussing morphs. He's like, I'm just soaking it in.
I'm just learning something. Yeah.
All right. So, all right, let's get to the last question. Then maybe we'll rant some more. But Mason, what advice would you give to new breeders who are considering working with locality-specific reticulated pythons for the first time? And we've hit some of that. So give me something different than what we've hit. Like, let's talk about like, you know, them understanding like maybe size or what they're, you know, looking for for what their end goal is before they go pick the locality.
I mean, like you just said, size for sure. I mean, get what you're comfortable dealing with. You know what I mean? In the sense of, especially because I mean, this is something that I just. At first, I was into the smaller stuff. Honestly, I went for the small to medium sized localities. Is what I really was looking at. I was like on a crazy hunt for some Madus for a while. Like I was looking into all that and. That's what I was comfortable with. And then I started like realizing that some of this stuff I was looking at were just young and they weren't necessarily small when they grow up, you know? And that's when like with the bollies, I seen a picture of a bolly. It was like probably a hatchling, you know what I mean? And or maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 months old, something like that. But I didn't realize how big they got until I did more research, seen pictures from years and years ago. And a big thing with that is I had a lot of I was very curious about it. And Weston definitely helped me a lot with he was cool enough to let me come down to his place, kind of spend some time with the bigger stuff. And that was like right before I got my bollies and started getting into the bigger stuff. And now I'm just ready to go. But as far as in the beginning, I mean, get what you're comfortable dealing with, because if you want something that you can, I mean, I always tell people it's probably good to grow with them, not buy stuff as adults too. But if you can get something that's only going to be 10 feet and you're comfortable with that, or if you're lucky enough to have somebody around, I guess, go to shows, go see go look at a 10-foot snake and see if you're willing to deal with that when it's pissed off or when it's hungry. That's something that I never did, to tell you the truth. But like I said, I mean, I did a lot of research. I watched a lot of people's videos, talked to a lot of people. And I mean, there's some days where some of this bigger stuff, when they get active with you, it's a little different, you know, like you gotta take it into mind, you know, you gotta think about
that's 100% true, because this is, keeping localities. Have you noticed and about something that's almost like, say, around the equal size, but like a difference in the strength of that locality versus this locality, even though really they look about the same rough numbers? Have you noticed that?
I could say that between my Mindanaos and my Ternates. I could say, dude, they'll wrap you. Like a Ternate will wrap. My female, I actually just barely moved her out, but my female would wrap, like the first time I ever held her right out the box. She wrapped my hand, started like pushing, like on like a food response, you know. But I've never had like my Mindanaos. They're very similar in size. That's why I'm comparing them. But they're a lot less. The Ternates seem to have a little bit more strength, I would say.
Right.
And they're definitely a bulkier animal for the length, I would say. Like they got a real fat nose, you know, like they're just, even if you look from their head coming into their neck, they're just like thicker. Like my Ternates are thick. So the Mindanaos definitely stay slimmer. But yeah, as far as strength goes, I would definitely say that. I mean, with the bigger stuff, I don't I guess I just have a bunch of bollies, so I don't really.
What a flex! I just have a bunch of bollies.
We just got a bunch of bollies.
I
mean, sometimes it's good to flex. I mean, there's not many other people. Like I got 1.2 Carapas and it's like when you get to flex that, it's like, how many people have got more than 1.1? Not many. Right. I can think of 2 people that have more than 1.1.
Right.
Because it was just, that's all that's been sold,
Yeah.
So I like your flex, Mason. I like it.
Me too.
That's cool. No, so I love to bring that up, and I like to point that out to people, because I think the one thing is we got to be a good steward to teach these people, like what it is. And that's where I show people, because I have a mainland pied down there, and he's not huge. He's about 10 feet. And then I recently, he went to a education center with some friends of mine, because he's just an awesome snake, but I didn't have any breeding plans for him. And it was a male that was taking up extra space. And it was a 50% Kalatoa. And they're about the same size to look at them. But you want to talk about the strength difference between the two. And I've had them both like wrap down on me, and the mainland every time. So I would say that's something that I started to notice, look at. And I would tell people that I'm like, look, like there, if you're looking for something that you can, you're still gonna have to respect 100%, but you might have the ability to help get off you much more. Like because I had to have somebody help me get the 10-foot mainland off of me one time, versus every other time in any kind of a similar scenario, the 50% and everything, I've always been able, it's like I can overpower them just a little bit more. It's just a strength difference, So I would definitely tell people that. Don't take it as science, but I mean, that's just my observation after about the last 8 or 9 years of messing with different stuff. It's something I think to understand and at least have in your head.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I'm off my soapbox. Lucas, you're up, man. What advice would you give?
Yeah, so when picking the right locality, I think it goes down to like what's your favorite, right? So if a Sulawesi is your favorite, you just got to understand what a Sulawesi is, right? You got to understand you're going to get a big snake, and I'm on the train of like there is no like beginner snake. You prepare and you plan and you get what you want, right? Because I hate the idea of saying, oh, I need a ball python, then I need a boa, then I need a carpet, and then I need a retic. It's like, no, like just if you want the retic, get the retic, just do the research. Same thing with localities, right? So look at the different patterns, look at the different colors, see what your favorite is, and then ask some people who have those localities, or if you have someone nearby that has them, go and see them and see their behaviors, because there are difference of behaviors within localities. We tend to see the Jampiana subspecies more associated with just being more active in your hands. They always like to go up, right?
Yep.
So they're an animal that is constantly moving when you hold them. I know for me, like with ternates, and halmaheras, they're an animal that when you buy as a baby, those babies are going to want to kill you, and then eventually they can chill out, right? But what I will say is all of my Maluku region animals, they have this behavior where when I'm putting them back in, sometimes before they're all the way back in, they'll wrap my arm like a food response, turn around, and just come right at me, right? And so none of my other localities do that, but my halmas and ternates, if you catch them on a day and you're putting like, I make sure that their lower third I'm supporting with a hook and not my hand, because they will wrap and they will come at you. And that's when they're going through growth spurts or females are cycling. So I think it really just depends on what are you looking for in an animal, right? You got to understand Jampianas, they're going to be more active. Sulawesis, they have, this reputation of, just they understand their size, right? And so they're not scared of you, and they will buck and push you around. And, the Sula I have, she's a total sweetheart. I'm target training her. She literally, I can open up her cage, no food response. She's cool.
Right.
So I think behavior can be a little bit like different from snake to snake, but there are some generalizations that we can make with localities. So yeah, get what you want, do your research, know what size they are, and go with what you think is pretty.
No, I definitely agree. And then I think too, one of the things I think is if you're going to have a plan for what you want to, and you want to breed morphs, and you're going to do that, but you want to put it into the right locality, then talk with the people that have your locality that you're getting them from, to see if that morph is actually going to work the way you think it is or the way you want. Because like some of us have tried it, some of us just can give you some advice, and then on the flip side, if you're going to do it, I mean, it's your money. You can absolutely do it. But guys, like part of what we're doing here with the education side of it is trying to get you to understand how to come at a morph with a locality and enhance the retic community, not just produce stuff that's going to end up sitting in, somebody's basement in a 50-gallon aquarium because they don't actually understand it. We want something that somebody's going to actually enjoy and display. And that kind of goes back to the front where Lucas had said something about, with the smaller size, and that has the ability for smaller enclosures. But what we're seeing more than anything right now, at least I am, is that more people are wanting to buy like one, maybe two snakes and make them big, huge enclosures. And that's cool too, guys. Like don't think that everybody's got to own 50, 60 snakes. It's not, it's a lot more work than what you think. All right. Babies are going to grow up. Babies are easy to take care of. When it's 10 babies, it's whatever, man. Slide that paper out or little handful of cocoa, and then, you know, and throw a little mouse in there that, you know, you're sitting here like, all right, took 10 minutes to thaw. Yeah, well, talk to me when it's midnight and you just got home from a 14-hour shift and you got to feed and you got to thaw pigs, you know, like
Now we're talking about going to bed at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, but, you know, and it's the reality is you chose to keep them, so they got to have it, you know?
Yeah.
So, all right, before I get off on another tangent, Jason Philp had a question, so we'll give you both a chance to answer. It's not on any time, but he goes, do you believe they can really be considered a pure locality after a breeder gets involved in selective breeding, since the locality is no longer the sole influence and expression? That's a good question. I think, yeah, I mean, if you cross localities, I think it's still a pure locality.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this question was in regards to like mochas, right? Like the Sumatran mochas. Like, is it really a pure locality if you're selectively breeding for mocha and enhancing the mocha aspect, but not the phenotypic expression of the normal Sumatran? I hopefully he's still on here so he can maybe clarify. But yeah.
What do you think? Hey, Jason, you still here? If you are, clarify. But, all right. So, Lucas, I got one for you, though. I want to see what you, because you, like I said, you've been in about as long as I have. What do you see as, you know, the way breeders and the reptile community at large are going to approach locality-focused stuff in the, like, next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think that we're already starting to see the shift. We're starting to see the change. We're seeing an increase of demand for pure locality animals. And I'm not even just talking about like super door pure localities, right? Because those will
100%.
drive demand because they're smaller. But people are finally starting to realize that if they want to stand out and they want their morph projects to look really good and pretty, you gotta you gotta take a step back. Oops, sorry, punch my mic. You gotta take a step back and reset with the locality that's going to enhance it. I would say that if anybody is seriously considering getting into reticulated pythons, let's say you have zero animals, but you're going to get them, you know, pick your 3 favorite morphs and the 2 best localities to go with that, with those morphs, and you have yourself a long-term, really successful program, right? Because you're going to enhance the morphs with the localities. So yeah, I think that I think we're already seeing the shakeup. A lot of people are taking more interest in localities, and it's not even just for the purity aspect. It's also to take into the morph, but there are a lot of people that also are wanting more and more wild types, right? Because the carpet python community, other communities that really like the subspecies and the locality stuff, they're moving over to the retic stuff, and so they're wanting the pure wild type localities. So I think in 5 to 10 years, you know, if you're gonna breed, you need a locality in your collection. If not, you're gonna get left behind in the dust. And if you are just a pet keeper, there are plenty of localities out there that are absolutely stunning. And, you know, but if you like the morph stuff, you know, if you're just doing pets, you don't need a pure locality, right?
Right. No, I think if you're just going to do more stuff, I definitely think that what you can do is buy the best examples of those morphs and enhance them that way, because somebody's already, you know, but you do it from the right breeder. You do it with the right work. You don't go out to Craigslist and buy I got this amazing 100% pure Kiawati platinum. You know, I'm like, did you now? That's cool. Let me get that. How much? 4-year-old female for $300. I'm like, I bet you did.
Right.
But if you're gonna do if you want, I agree with you. If you're gonna do really nice morph stuff and you have no interest in the locality side of it, you can definitely enhance the morph stuff with what's already out there. But buy the best you can afford and then work towards it. And then guys, and then you enhance organically. This is the other thing that I see a lot, is that somebody will buy a project, and this is the way, and I will tell you, and I think Lucas will tell you, and Mason will tell you in time, I guarantee you, because it's every one of us. When we started, we all got babies, we all loved it. me and Lucas, freaking, all right, I want to breed quicker. I got to find older animals. We bought older animals, and I would never buy a fucking older animal again.
Bites you in the ass, man.
Dude, I made no time up, and I fed this huge snake that I literally raised up babies from, or that I raised babies in the same time frame, but like with the move and everything, like she freaking took forever. And then it just wasn't worth it. I will tell you, Chase, like, unless you can get a like 3-year-old, maybe one that's bred one time, I don't know. Like, it's not as it's impossible, and a lot of people do it. But I will tell you that if you are brand new, you are thinking that it's going to make you get there faster without the experience that somebody has, that when they get a breeder female, that they have the experience to see it. And this is where, I don't know, from my aspect, I will tell you that now that I've bred several clutches and been through that and everything else, I see that difference, and you just know your animal. It's also going to make a difference in how those animals are raised, in my opinion. I think it's a difference in the attitude in which those, the ones, I just noticed a major difference in what I raised versus like what I got at an older point in life, And so I will tell you that taking a little bit of time, it's your friend, right? And you're also going to learn your animals, and that's the big key. All right. Jason clarified this, right? He said selectively breeding, say pure Kalatoa to increase cleanliness, darker, thicker blacks, or like maybe the difference between like a Murdoch Coyote and other Coyote lines.
You mind if I comment on that real quick?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think what we're like getting at here is, so one thing that we have been doing all podcasts, right? That we've been talking about localities. We are making generalizations that localities, animals within that island look the same. And couldn't be further from the truth. On the island of Kalatoa, you're going to find more striped out. You're going to find more triangular, jagged. I have a ternate in my garage that is striped out on over half of her body, and ternates aren't known to be striped out, right? So there are variations in every locality. And so I think that if you are, let's say you take two pure coyotes, for example, like Dr. Murdoch did, and you take them together, and then you notice some of those animals are kind of getting a little bit of a jagged line, and you want to enhance that. It was still the pure locality that provided the phenotypic expression and the genetics to do that. So yeah, you might be making a pure locality that looks different from some of the other stereotypic looks, but absolutely we're still working with that locality. So that would be I still think it is a pure locality, even if we are enhancing or fine-tuning different phenotypic expressions. And honestly, I think that's going to be, we're not going to be able to, for too much longer, take unrelated locality animals together. And at that point, the people that are going to sell more locality animals are the ones that are selectively breeding for certain traits to make them look different than what everyone else has, right? So yeah, I think even with locality animals, for example, my Kalatoas I produced, from the F1s I produced, a lot of them came out vibrant yellow, way more yellow than any other Kalatoa that I've really seen in person, at least. And so I am going to be line breeding to enhance that yellow. And my goal, right, who knows if it'll happen, but my goal is to make a pure Kalatoa that is so vibrant and yellow that it makes a platinum super dwarf look like shit. Right.
I like it.
Right. So
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with that, right? For us, because we're in the U.S., and guys, there is more world that extends outside the borders of our United States. When it comes to retics, if Lucas does that in 10 years, so it's still going to be a pure Kalatoa that may be so gold that it looks platinum or puts a platinum to shame. And people are going to sit there and be like, well, this is a pure Kalatoa. And then they're going to see somebody over seas that's posting a pure Kalatoa, and they're going to be like, it's not a fucking pure Kalatoa. So here's the deal with this. And this is what I would say to that, Jason. I don't know, Mason, you can jump in after this. But with selective breeding, right, as the new people come in and they see that, that start becomes their standard of what they're looking at and where their knowledge base starts. So a lot of them don't know what those old school lines look like, what a pure wild caught looks like, right? That hasn't been selectively line bred, let's say in 10 years. That's a new thought. Boom, that just blew my mind because it just hit me. In 10 years, what pure localities are going to look like, and there's going to be a new standard set because of line breeding. Within the U.S., there's no option there,
right?
Because we can't import.
Right.
Mason, all right, let's hear what you got, man, because me and Lucas done.
I mean, I agree with everything you guys just said. I mean, to me, it's still a pure locality as long as it hasn't been bred to something that's going to make it not pure blooded. You know what I mean? It's still pure. I mean, look what like Rodney, he has lines of ternate that are all pure, but he has like the Apocalypto. He has the new stuff he just did, the Fractalus or what he's calling it. I mean, he's got
that stuff looked cool.
Yeah, I mean,
that stuff looked real cool.
Those are still F2s. Like, you know, like those aren't, you know what I mean? Like that's and I mean, like what Lucas said, not all of this stuff looks the same. I mean, there's I mean, look at Sulas. You got Bantangs. You have the Palopos. You have the Makassars, which I'm probably butchering some of these names, but like if you look at all three of those alone, those are all from the same island. Yes, it's a big island, but completely different looks and size too. Completely different size too. You know what I mean? Like that's another thing that people like just need to realize, because I do see that a lot, honestly. Like people are like, oh, well, your Kalatoa doesn't look like his, so it's not pure. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, it's not always the case, which yes, there is sadly a lot of, there's always going to be people that don't know the lineage of their stuff. So, I mean,
yeah,
it does happen. It does happen.
Right.
Stuff gets mixed up.
I guess like a good comparison is like golden retrievers, right? You have like the like really light colored ones. You have like the dark red ones, right? Yeah. And they all look different, but they're still pure golden retrievers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Like, yeah.
You know, but my standard for golden retrievers started with Homeward Bound, man.
Yeah.
So that's if I think a golden retriever, some of y'all are too young for that in the comment section, and I'm sorry. You should go educate yourself. Yeah. It was a great 90s movie. There was 3 of them. You never thought of a talking animal.
No, they're great.
Could have moved you so much, but golly, that was a great journey they went on. Oh man. All right, guys. I think you guys, I appreciate y'all coming on. You guys have definitely thrown out a ton of great information. Real quick, Amy Henderson, Madu and Titanium for a Citron. Just to let you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The long-term goal I've got is there's going to be Anery Titaniums done with Madu. There's going to be Anery Blue Hypos done with Madu. And then there's going to be a Blue Hypo Anery Titanium where I think that I am going to make it blue and white retic. All right, that's the goal. So they're coming, Amy, and
I'll see you in 25 years.
Yeah. It's long. I hope you're young like me and the rest of us, because if not, you're not gonna be around to see it. It's gonna take forever, but it's coming.
Oh man!
All right. Well, hey guys, thank y'all so much. Appreciate everybody showing up. Again, the Rocket reminds you, go support U.S. Art, support U.S. Art Florida, even if it's just shooting emails, helping everybody out. If there's something going on everywhere, what you got, Lucas?
No, you're just talking about the rocket, right? And you know how the rocket looks, and then you're using the word shooting. And I'm sorry, that was an unintentional pun. I had to, but anyways.
Oh, that's funny. Oh man, it's PG-13 on here.
Man, I'm sorry,
I only dropped 1 F-bomb, so that's by the ratings. We're good.
Okay,
good.
So dirty puns intended. It's great, but appreciate you guys. It was a great show. Thank y'all so much, and we'll catch y'all in 2 weeks for episode 17. Mike, thank you so much, buddy. In the background, have a good one later.
Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth, the wisdom is sound in the Retic Rundown. We're breaking new ground. From the jungles deep to the captive scene, Retics rule the world, if you know what I mean. With patterns so bold and sizes extreme, in the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground.